If you knew you were going to die tomorrow, what would your last meal be? Would you choose something you love, your mother's cooking, a sweet memory from childhood, a meal that reminds you of home? For Japan's infamous World War II Kamikaze pilots, this question wasn't hypothetical. It was terrifyingly real. That instinct, imagining a last meal filled with comfort or memory, doesn't come from nowhere. Around the world, it has become an expectation, one that even applies to people sentenced to die. A last meal they can request for themselves. Some ask for fried chicken and fries, others for rich steaks, seafood platters, ice cream, pies, all the flavors they denied themselves. And if that courtesy exists for the condemned, people society has already written off, what would you expect for young men being sent to die in the name of their country? Especially in a culture where food has always been used to mark moments that matter. What they were given instead wasn't choice, comfort, or ceremony. It was something far more ordinary. But to understand why their final meal was so stripped down, you have to understand what Japan could have given them and why it chose not to. Japan has never been a culture that didn't know how to eat well, and more importantly, a culture that didn't know when food should matter most. Long before World War II, and long after, Japanese cuisine was built on mastery, not excess. This matters because this is the standard their final meal would later be measured against. Fresh seafood pulled from the coast at sunrise, fatty cuts of tuna, otoro, once prized enough to be reserved for the elite, grilled eel glazed in sweet soy sauce, served on special occasions, rich enough to stain the fingers, Wagyu beef, cut so finely it melts without effort, nigiri sushi, built around perfectly seasoned rice and premium fish, kaiseki, a traditional multi-course Japanese meal. Japanese cuisine has always understood that certain moments deserve different food. So when you hear that young men were sent on missions they would never return from, it's natural to assume their final meal reflected that understanding. But in war, everything changes. This is where food stopped carrying meaning and started being counted. By the final years of World War II, Japan was starving. Before the war, the empire relied heavily on imports: rice from Korea, sugar from Taiwan, soybeans and wheat from Southeast Asia. By 1945, that lifeline was gone. American submarines hunted cargo ships relentlessly. Supply lines vanished. Cities burned night after night. Food stopped being cultural. It became logistical. Meals were reduced to function. What remained was simple: a serving of rice, a thin soup, pickled vegetables. This was normal wartime food. And under normal circumstances, it made sense. Contrary to what many people believe, kamikaze pilots were not elite aviators, but young men, often barely out of their teens, chosen for a mission with no return. They did not belong to the same category as career pilots who had earned privileges through rank, experience, or survival, who sometimes received slightly better meals: an extra egg, a little more fish, and occasionally a portion of meat. They were not officers with access to separate dining rooms, better ingredients, or upgraded rations. Most had only a few dozen hours of flight training, just enough to take off, keep the aircraft steady, and point it toward a target. So the military did not invest in making them comfortable. Their value to the system ended the moment they took off. And this is where the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. These men were barely adults, 17, 18, 19, university students, sons, brothers. They did not eat before a mission they might survive. They weren't rotating to the front. They weren't hoping to survive. They knew, with certainty, that within hours they would be dead. No return flight, no tomorrow, no next meal. And yet, when they sat down to eat for the last time, nothing was different. No personal request, no special dish, no acknowledgement that this was the end. They ate the same food as every other soldier. The same rations, the same portions, sometimes even less, because this was not a farewell meal. It was fuel, and it set the tone for everything that came next. Their final meal was painfully ordinary. White rice, a small bowl of miso soup, pickled vegetables, sometimes onigiri. Nothing luxurious, nothing symbolic. No favorite dish, no indulgence, no choice. And for most of them, this was the last warm thing they would be given. But there was, however, one quiet exception, and it did not come from the state. At Chiran Air Base stood a small dining hall, Tomiya Shokudo. Its owner, Tome Torihama, later became known as the mother of the Kamikaze pilots. The young men didn't come to her for luxury. They came for warmth. A bowl of rice with egg, green tea, a few minutes without orders. She listened. She fed them. She treated them like boys, not symbols. Today, a restaurant connected to the war shrine in Tokyo still serves a scrambled egg and rice bowl that's advertised as the same dish she gave them, which is not a fancy dish, but just soft egg over hot rice. It's a quiet reminder that even when the state wanted to turn them into symbols, in practice, they were just hungry boys being fed something warm before they disappeared into the sky. And what matters isn't what was on the plate, but what was deliberately left off it. This wasn't an accident. By the final years of the war, the Japanese military no longer rewarded individuality. It demanded obedience. A last meal chosen by the pilot would have meant one thing, that the individual still mattered. And that was dangerous. Kamikaze pilots were not meant to feel special. They were meant to be replaceable. Food was not there to comfort them. It was there to sustain them, just long enough. Choice implied identity. Identity implied hesitation. And hesitation had no place in a mission designed to end in death. The final routine. After eating, the routine continued. Before their final flight, the pilots took part in a brief sake ceremony. A small cup, 3 measured sips. Not for pleasure, not for courage. It wasn't a celebration. It was purification. A Shinto ritual meant to cleanse the spirit before death. For many of them, this was the most personal thing they were given that morning. It was also the last moment of choice they would ever have. After that, the preparations continued. White hachimaki headbands were tied around their foreheads. Photos were tucked away, letters folded and placed inside uniforms, small charms from home carried close to the body. Engines started one by one, breaking the silence of the morning for good. Their planes were stripped of armor and parachutes and loaded with bombs and extra gasoline tanks, modified not for survival, but for impact. And then they took off. Some reached their targets, others were shot down before impact. All vanished, but what they left behind tells us just as much. We know what kamikaze pilots ate not only from records, but also from what they almost never bothered to mention. Hundreds of farewell letters survived, notes to parents, to siblings, to teachers, to childhood friends. They wrote about responsibility, about shame, about duty, about the hope that their families would not suffer for their decision. Some apologized. Others tried to sound calm, but across these letters and diaries, one detail is strikingly rare: the food. You find almost no descriptions of a final feast, no lingering over taste, no gratitude for a carefully prepared last meal, no sense that the menu mattered. When food appears at all, it's casual and functional. A brief line about having eaten, a passing mention of rice. Nothing worth lingering on, and that silence matters. It's easy, decades later, to reduce kamikaze pilots to symbols, fanatics, myths, but their food tells a quieter story. They didn't dine like heroes. They didn't eat like honored guests. They ate like ordinary boys. One last bowl of rice, one final sip of sake, one quiet moment before disappearing. In a culture rich enough to express meaning through food, their final meal was stripped of it. And that may be the most shocking part of all. And this wasn't unique to Japan. In another video, I looked at a very different group of people during World War II, and the shocking ways survival reshaped what they were forced to eat. If this story stayed with you, that one will too.